Hey everyone, and welcome to Unit 12, Lesson 12. This week we are going to focus on surrealism, probably one of my favorite types of styles in art, and surrealist photography is pretty stunning as well. So let's get right to it and sort of break down sort of some key things you're going to go through and some key tips that I have for you to make these images awesome. So first and foremost, there's a lot of sometimes confusion about the difference between abstract art and surreal art. So the idea of, and it kind of goes through it in the lesson, but just kind of to reiterate, the idea of abstract art is sort of the non-objective, sometimes non-representational, which means sometimes it's literally about the art itself and it doesn't necessarily connect to anything. It kind of just is, whether that's paint splatters or just light. Sometimes the idea of something abstracted is that you appreciate it for exactly what it is or can be. Something that is more categorized as surrealist. And again, the definitions kind of vary depending on kind of what you're looking at in the context that you're creating in. But surrealism tends more to the non-logical. So it's the idea of nonsensical, non-logical. So we pull into the subconscious mind. That's where there's a lot of play on dreams. The idea of sort of compiling many different ideas, putting them all together, and sort of seeing what the image kind of creates. So a hand with a head and half a leg or something like that, where it's complete ideas that are jammed together to make something non-logical, nonsensical. So that's a really sort of brief general definition. It goes into a bit more definition within the lesson itself, but just kind of a quick review. Of course, we're going to look at sort of our renowned artists within the field. And of course, that is Dali. But interestingly, not necessarily the founder of the movement itself. He's actually probably one of the most interesting and fascinating personalities within the field, but not necessarily the forerunner. I think he gets a lot of attention as sort of the creator, but he actually was just a key player in the movement. So there's some more information on that below, and if you're interested in looking up Dali, I would definitely encourage you to do some more research on your own. And then what we're going to focus on is two women, actually, Lee Miller and Dora, I want to pronounce it Maar. Really interesting women whose careers kind of got overshadowed by their partners. But their works themselves are quite spectacular in their own right. So for this lesson, I wanted to focus on them specifically to kind of give you a reference. And remember context. So they're also working in a very different time when the concept of surrealist art was definitely groundbreaking and no one sort of knew what to do with it. And so many artists were so excited to explore its endless limitations of what surrealism could be. So have fun looking through that. Again, there's some beautiful pieces. And now some tips that I want to give you for when you scroll down and you read through the lesson itself. So you are going to, in fact, to create or compose your own surreal-like image. But what I want to draw your attention to are the key tips that I've included in the lesson. And some students read them and kind of bypass them, but I really want you to try and pick a couple, and I want you to really try and explore and work within it. So the idea of distortion, the idea of solarization, of montage, it's all listed below, but I really want you, in terms of technique, when you are trying to create your surrealist image, I really want you to try and stick to at least one or two of those manipulative techniques. And I think you may be surprised on how a simple idea with the right editing, which we have in our 21st century, can really enhance this concept of the nonsensical. So please choose some of the tips below to work within, or at least to explore, and you can hand them in as part of your process pictures, but try and definitely have some fun with those, and I promise, I think the results are going to surprise you. And then in terms of subject matter, so when you're creating or sort of brainstorming for your images, think about dreams that you've had. It doesn't have to be super personal by any means. But think of even aspects of dreams, or maybe concepts or ideas, and take key parts of them and sort of jam them all together and try and create something completely absurd and nonsensical. That's kind of the pattern of it. So don't necessarily worry too much about how pretty it is in the end. That's actually the opposite of what we're kind of going with. We're very much going for that nonsensical. So this is definitely a unit that I want you to have fun with, and I want you to explore, and I want them to be a little crazy and wacky, and I think the more the better in this case. So that's it for me in terms of that. Remember your process picks, remember your write-ups, remember all those good things that we get tons of marks for, and always remember that if you need any help, don't hesitate to email me or to get a hold of me. All right, guys, happy clicking. Have fun.